In this corner, the all-new Marvel Legends Elektra as Daredevil, and in this corner, Raphael from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Both of them are ninjas who wear red and wield sais, both owe their existence to Daredevil, and both are available at retail right now. Which one's the better value? Place your bets and stick around, this versus is gonna be different. Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation, where I review action figures and then articulate 5 points to help you decide if you want to add that figure to your collection. The 5 points I discuss are packaging, presentation, posability, playability, and price. I'm Jason, and if you enjoy my content, please like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube rigmarole. Starting off with the packaging, and there's a lot of similarities here too. Elektra's on a mainly purple blister card, Raphael's on a mainly purple blister card. Character art on the side, character art on the side. Burst of orange behind her, burst of yellow behind him to make him pop. Flipping Elektra around and we have a digital render, more importantly a bio. Flipping Raph around we have all the characters in the wave, and a bio for him as well. Stylistically, these blister cards are so similar I can't even choose. For packaging, this round is a draw. Moving on to presentation, and Raphael stands at 4.5 inches with Daredevil standing at 6.5 to the top of her hair. For those who are confused by me saying these characters are connected, allow me to explain. Eastman and Laird made Ninja Turtles a riff on Daredevil, particularly Frank Miller's dark and gritty run on it. The artwork also implies that the canister of chemicals that blinded Matt Murdock and gave him his powers was the mutagen that transformed them. And while I think it's interesting that the one wearing red also has a sais, it is worth noting in the original run of the comics all of them wore red. The first thing worth noting is that both figures are completely new sculpts. Obviously Raph is more cartoonish and exaggerated. He's closer to the same shade of green as Leo, but as the tank of the group he's a lot bigger and broader. His shell's also a bit more scuffed up from battle. I do like the texture they gave his skin. He also has an extra pouch which they've painted separately. On the subject of paint, one thing I did say before that I do still maintain here is that it would have been nice if there was some extra black line work. In the movie everything has a sketchy, scribbly quality, so any extra detail of course would help. That said, I do feel like the face perfectly captures his personality. As for faces, Elektra's is completely covered by both a mask and a scarf. Kinda seems like overkill. For those wondering, they are separate and removable pieces, so if you wanted to, you could always display her like this. Flipping her around, I do find this ponytail very interesting. Be careful though, because I do feel like this is the kind of thing that could snap off easily. Rather than just painting over a black body, all the seams have been sculpted in, as well as wrinkles in the fabric. The logo, however, is stamped on. Unlike usual, that means her wraps are actually sculpted. More of those towards the forearm, and there we can see the interesting gestures of her fingers. This is so she can correctly hold her sais. Moving on down, she has a belt with a sash that's a loose floating piece, but I gotta tell you, I'm really impressed with how they captured these baggy pants. And then moving down, we have more wraps, and of course the whole figure is pinless. Although it might seem unfair to compare these two, both figures have done a fantastic job of translating their source material. That said, I am impressed with Hasbro for giving Elektra a 100% new sculpt instead of just recycling a blank body with a few new parts. For presentation, this round goes to Elektra. Moving on to posability, and obviously it's going to go to Raphael. Joking aside, both figures' heads are on ball joints, with Elektra also having a dumbbell. They can look up this high with Elektra hindered by her scarf and hair, and they can look down this far with Elektra literally burying her head in the scarf. She can get a bit of tilt though, as can Raph, but whereas he can turn his head all the way around, she just gets a little bit of side to side. Moving on down, they both have swivel hinge shoulders, with Raph having the higher range. Otherwise, all Raph has in the arms are single-jointed swivel elbows and swivel wrists. Electric Nachos, on the other hand, has a bicep swivel, pinless double-jointed elbows, and swivel hinge wrists. The right hand hinges up and down, and left hand hinges side to side. Moving to the middle, and Raphael has no torso articulation whatsoever. Daredevil, however, has a diaphragm joint. She can arch back this far, and hunch forward this far. Pretty good tilt, and twist. Below the black belt, and Raphael has swivel hinge hips. Between that and the shape of the shell, he can only kick this high, but if you twist his leg sideways, he can split this wide. Elektra, on the other hand, has ball-jointed hips. She can kick this high and split this wide. Traversing down his tortoise legs, and all Raphael has are single-jointed swivel knees and ankle swivel. Elektra, by contrast, has thigh cut, pinless double-jointed knees, boot cut, and Marvel Legends ankles that can hinge and pivot. I joke, but the range in these new turtles is pretty impressive for the size and price. That said, against to Marvel Legend, it's not exactly a fair fight. For posability, this round also goes to Elektra. Moving on to playability, and I find this section to be the most interesting difference between the two. Nachios naturally comes with her twin sais, and nothing else. Raph also comes with a pair of sais, an accessory tree featuring a prison shank, some ninja stars, some pizza, a can of ooze, and whatever those two things are, and a baby turtle. Just look at it. Tell me, between the $25 figure and the $10 basic one, which would you have expected would have came with more accessories? Additionally, Raphael can store his weapons. Elektra, however, is stuck holding hers forever. But playability is more than just accessories or the ability to store them. It's also about how well your figures play with others. Starting with the Elektra side of things, and here we have a variation of Psylocke made for the X-Men Light-Up series by Toy Biz. Pretty sure this is the first Elektra ever made. For the most recent, and here's the Man Without Fear 3-pack version. As for old Double D himself, and here's the Spider-Man Web Force version by Toy Biz. Here we have the Spider-Man Classic version, which scales really well with Raphael. Here we have the Hasbro Hobgoblin Wave version, the 90s style retro card armored version, and the Man Without Fear 3-pack version made on the Spider-Man Renew Your Vows body. For my only other Daredevil related figures, and here's the 3-pack version of Bullseye, the Stiltman Wave Hand Ninja, and the Kingpin. Veering over to Raph's half of things, and here's a reproduction of the 1988 original. Here he is as an astronaut, a superbly crafted Jim Henson creation, and the Frankenstein monster. Friend? She hate me. For his other brothers from this series, and here's Leonardo, Michelangelo, and Donatello. Now I know what you're thinking, Jason, you never reviewed Donatello. You're right, let's rectify that now. Starting with the packaging, and it's the same blister card as the others. Only difference is the sticker saying that Donatello is the brains, but hey, he seems to be wearing the same glasses as me, so that's a given. Moving on to presentation, and like his brothers, Donnie's a 100% new sculpt, but to emphasize the nerdiness, he also has a fanny pack. When I first saw this, I was a bit nervous that it was going to flop around, but it is glued in place. That said, I was hoping the cell phone would be removable, but it's stuck in there pretty good. That said, the glasses are removable. If you prefer your Donnie without them, here you go. Otherwise, you might want to glue them down lest the carpet goblins get a hold of them. Moving on to posability, and you can look up this far down, and I think you know the rest. Arm raises this high, single jointed swivel elbow, and swivel wrist. He can kick this high, that's thanks to this curve cut in the shell, and can split this wide. Moving down, he's got single jointed swivel knee, and swivel ankle. Moving on to playability, and Donnie has his bow staff. No paint detail on this one, unfortunately. He can hold it in either hand, but it does move around a bit, gripping from the center though, and that is not a problem. Otherwise, it can stay safely stored away on his belt. Since Donnie only has one weapon, they gave him an extra accessory in the form of these headphones. Because of how big his head is, you can use them on other figures. Hopefully these are his ears, because that's the only place I can get them to stay in place. As for his accessory tree, he has a long prison shank, pizza, a star, one of these numbers, and a can of ooze. Lastly, he comes with an adorable baby turtle. For my entire Donatello collection, and here's a reproduction of the original, here he is as a Central Park Flasher, as a Treasure Troll, as Corey Feldman, and as the Invisible Man. See what I did there? For a relative scale comparison, here he is with Pizza Spidey and the Spectacular Spider-Man, and as always, here he is with Stealth Iron Man. I hear you wanted to talk to me about a repair? Finally, the purple one! With all that coming to only $10, I'd say that Donatello is a perfect 5 out of 5. Since the Turtles are known to cross over with the distinguished competition, and here we have the Greg Capullo Batman, DC Icons Rebirth Batman, and the DC Collectibles Batman the Animated Series. For another foursome of Big Apple heroes the Turtles have crossed over with, and here we have the Ghostbusters. Of course, I still think these new Turtles would get along great with Miles Morales, but for just a few other Spider-Men, and here's Renew Your Vows, Amazing Friends, and then for a relative scale comparison, here's Pizza Spidey and the Spectacular Spider-Man, and as always, here they are with Stealth Iron Man. Not exactly what I had in mind. Completing a whole new set of Turtles feels great. That said, YouTube user Adrian Russell 6269 asked if the new weapons can work with the old Turtles, so here's Leonardo. He can even store them on his back. Here we have Donatello. He can also store it. Next up is Raph. No way these are fitting in there. And lastly, here's Mikey. I'm pleasantly surprised by how well the oranges match, just don't expect to store them. That said, I'm sure a couple of you were curious about some head swap potential between between these two. If this is something you wanted to do, you would have to paint the bandana. Luckily, it looks nice and fits well. If, however, you'd like something wilder, there is this head. I've got to show this mane off from the back. Again, you'd have to paint the bandana, but it is a pretty fun option. I concede that Elektra being a new sculpt means that there was less money in the budget for accessories, but I mean, something would have helped. You know it's bad when Hasbro's shown up by a $10 Ninja Turtle. For playability, this round goes to Raph. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price, and in terms of sheer value, this round obviously goes to Raph, but crunching all the numbers, and this battle is a tie. I'm curious, did you tune into this video more for Elektra or more for the Turtles? Sound off in the comments below. If you like this video, check out one of these. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again real soon, but until then, play nice and have fun.